friends. Welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
And we are back from Midsummer Scream.
Yes, we certainly are. Barely.
Oh
I'm back physically, but not yet mentally or
right.
emotionally.
Yeah. Spiritually, we're still there. So we'll start off by saying hello to everyone that we met
Yes.
while at Midsummer Scream. It was so great to see a lot of you. The podcast ghouls are the best ghouls, and we love you. So thank you so much for coming up and saying hi.
Yeah, so nice to meet so many of you. It was very fun.
Yes. And we once again are gonna just have a little chatty recap about Midsummer Scream, our experiences, what we think about it, and in case you missed last year's episode, or if you are not familiar, what is Midsummer Scream? So this is a Halloween haunt horror convention held in Long Beach, California, on the last weekend of July. So it's kind of got a little bit of everything. So there are panels and presentations. There are celebrity guests. They have like over 350 vendors selling spooky stuff. They have the Hall of Shadows, which is like mini haunts. They have a pumpkin patch of kid-friendly activities, and just kind of a whole lot of everything for the folks who love anything spooky, scary.
Anything you could want, they've got it.
Indeed. So the first question that we received, so we'll be doing kind of a mix of questions from folks slash just our general talk about it, but this kind of led into my first thing was, is it worth the money? So if you're thinking about it, you're like, should I shell out for this? What do we think? And just for full disclosure, Midge and I did fully pay our own way to this. We are not affiliated in any way with this event. So we are just two ghouls who went and did the
We're
thing.
just two ghouls who gave Midsummer Scream all of our money.
It's true. So they have kind of a variety of options. So they have single day passes, weekend passes, the VIP or gold bat, as they call it, pass. And that VIP pass gets you in through the weekend. You get early access, you get priority access to panels, haunts, and everything. And then it also includes the after party kind of dance on Saturday night. I went ahead and looked these up. The Gold Bat was like $140. General admission for the whole weekend is like $60 for just Friday night. So that's like just an evening, and that's mostly just the vendor floor and maybe some performances. Was like $30. A Saturday ticket is like $50, and a Sunday's like $40, and then it's an extra $20 for the after party. So I will let any of our ghouls who are considering this know that they do offer 40% off of
I was
general
about to say,
admission for the first part of the year. So like if you know that you want to go, you can get an awesome deal, and that's, I think, 100% worth it. A lot of vendors also have promo codes that they can give out. Unfortunately, there are not any discounts on Gold Bat, so if you want that VIP pass, you gotta shell out for it. Our experience has been that the Gold Bat is really worth it.
Mhm.
I think if you're planning it, like maybe if you're local and you're just planning to stop by for a day, or you just want to shop, like obviously a single pass is fine. But like if you are planning to, if you're considering traveling, I would say that it's worth it to ensure that you know you're getting into all of the things that you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. If you're spending the money already to travel and go there, you want to get as much out of it as possible, and that gold
Hmm.
bat pass really does ensure that you get to see everything you want to see. And that you think 3 days is a lot of time. It's not.
It's so not.
And I believe that they said they had 50,000 people this year at Midsummer
That's what
Scream.
they said. They said 50,000 people per day,
Yeah.
which
So if you think
is
about
bonkers.
50,000 people trying to get into panels, haunts, shop around, like getting any kind of quote priority is really essential to be sure you can like hit everything in 3 days.
Hmm.
Because it's really like
Yeah,
it's like 2.5 day, really.
exactly. Yeah, it's not like the Friday's not really a full day, and it's also just like that vendor. I will say, like, I've been looking at pictures from Gen Con, and it is not like that. Like, it's not like a crush like at some of these really big
Mhm.
conventions, but it's still a lot of people. And especially like the vendor floor tends to get really sweaty and like having that extra hour to shop in the morning before other people hit the floor is can be huge. You
Yeah.
can like knock out a lot of stuff.
Yes, you surely can.
Mhm. And we also were asked where to stay during Midsummer Scream, if we have
Boy, do
thoughts, we
boy,
have
do we have news for you.
recommendations. Yes. So there are several hotels in the area. I mean, this is held at the, I guess we didn't say, this is held at the Long Beach Convention Center. So it is a centralized location that has a lot of hotels in the area. They have room blocks at a couple of the hotels. Kind of the main hotel that is basically connected to the convention center is the Hyatt Regency, which is where we stayed this time. Last year we did stay in an Airbnb with like a big group. So it is gonna you're kind of like trading off one for another. Like having staying in a convention hotel is definitely much more expensive. But it was so much more of a hassle, like being farther away.
Well, and we kind of ended up Long Beach isn't, like, inherently walkable either, and so,
No.
like, yeah, if you're staying somewhere where you're gonna have to Uber to the convention center, you're gonna end up Ubers in California are wild now, like, both
Yeah,
both in
this is
price
true.
and in energy. Uh,
Yes, that's what our whole like half of the vibe of this event was wild and crazy Uber
just
stories
wild
because
wild Uber rides.
we had some
Midge
characters.
and Penny's Wild Ride coming to Disney Studios
Yes.
this fall. Um,
Oh boy.
no, but yeah, the money you're gonna spend getting around, in Ubers and things would probably get you about to where it would be just to go ahead and stay in the hotel that's right there. You know?
Yeah, and just the convenience is so nice, like, the idea that you can just, like, run back to your room if you wanna drop stuff off, if you've been shopping and you bought a lot of stuff, you don't have to haul it around with you all day, like, there were, days that we went back, to, like, just have lunch at the hotel just to kind of take a break
Or let's say,
from
like, I don't know,
everything.
not that this, happened to us at all, but let's say you're neurospicy.
Hmm.
We're, totally not anything that happened to us, but if you get overstimulated really easily, and there's 50,000 people in a convention center all day, it was awesome to be able to just like exit that building and go next door and breathe for 10 seconds and not
Yes.
be in a swarm of human bodies. Um,
Mhm. Cool down, sitting
yeah.
quiet for a bit.
Take a
Yes,
nap, take a
highly
disco nap.
yes, highly recommend.
I also this is just kind of in tandem with that, which has nothing to do with where to stay, but I brought
Mhm.
my Loop earbuds this year, and that was a
Oh,
freaking
yes.
lifesaver. Again, if you have sensory sensitivities, plan on, yeah, maybe bring in some earbuds where you can like still hear people, but just to cut out some of that convention noise, because hooey, after 3 days, it starts getting spicy in your brain.
Yes, and I would recommend bringing a handheld fan because
Yeah,
it
Penny's
gets
the
hot
OG.
and I am someone who gets very overheated, and I get very overstimulated when I'm
Mhm.
overheated, so having one of those little handheld, like, either an electric fan or even just, like, a fan yourself, an analog
An
fan when you
analog
can't
I think they just call them hand fans.
just a hand
An
fan,
analog
uh,
fan.
you know what I mean. But yes, oh, and the one other question that I was just gonna loop into this is whether or not dogs are allowed. So it is service animals only in the convention center, but I did actually look and there are pet friendly hotels. The Hyatt is pet friendly,
Oh,
so
nice.
like if you were
Well,
coming maybe with
yes, it certainly is, because the number of dogs we saw in this hotel was wild,
so many
and I'm
dogs.
not complaining. A dog will make my day faster than anything, and we probably my first day there when Miranda and I were there early and we were waiting for everybody else, I probably saw 8 dogs in an hour, and I was like, "This is the best day."
Yeah, so if you want to bring your dog, maybe if you're bringing a a partner who's not super spooky and they're going to hang out at the hotel with the dog while you do convention stuff, you could definitely make that work.
Yeah.
So let's jump in, and I just want to talk about the general vibe. The general vibe. I'm doing wavy arms that you can't see, but Midge can picture it
I can.
because she knows me. Yeah. So one of the questions that I really loved that we got was like, what got your kind of creative juices flowing
Love that.
while you were there? And I would say like I just love the people watching at Midsummer Scream
Mhm.
so much. Like we remarked several times about like the last day in the hotel being like, who are these people who aren't wearing black t-shirts? Like what's going on here? There's just like so much how it's just such a good energy to like have
Yeah.
people who are all kind of into the spooky vibe there at the same time. There are so many amazing
It's
cosplayers.
a very cool, like,
um
almost Matrix-like experience where you
mhm,
forget for 3 days that the outside world exists, and I mean that in the
yes.
best way, like, what Penny was just saying, we went out to dinner the last night, and we went out in Long Beach just to, like, a yard house, and we were there, and all of a sudden, it was like we were all waking up from a very intense dream, and we were like, what year is it? Why are people wearing summertime clothes?
What?
Why is Reagan in full, like, we saw somebody in full Reagan cosplay just like walking the streets of Long Beach in front of the bars, and I was like, this is a fever dream, like a really good fever dream. But like, how did
Yes.
we all get here? It felt like we got abducted by aliens for 3 days and then dropped in the middle of California.
Mhm. Did you have any thoughts like just kind of what was your overall experience?
Yeah, I think as far as things that got my creative juices flowing, the haunts are always really fun for me because I like to see the
Mhm.
different ways. First of all, so let's say that I don't know, were you gonna talk more about Hall of Shadows, or can I talk about it now?
We can talk. It's on my list, but we can move it to now if you
Um,
would like
I
to jump in.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to say if you're a person who doesn't like to go through like mazes and things, still check out the Hall of Shadows because there is a front half of it that's not
Yes.
scary. And so, well, even to me the haunts weren't scary, but like it is sensory friendly, I would say. In the front half, you're not there's no people jump scaring you, there's no like haunt
Yeah, yeah, there's no, like,
actors.
actors or
Yeah,
anything. It's I did not go on any haunts this year, but I did, walk through kind of
that
that
front
front
display.
space, and it's a very cool kind of, like, display of some interesting, designs. There it was D&D themed this year,
Yeah.
so we got to see some creatures.
So that's always really cool. Just like as a maker, it was very fun to see how
Mhm.
people create different props and things. And then even within the haunts, just different scare techniques and different lighting techniques people were using, and how people were using space differently, like things like that. And this is also my first year trying to create a little bit of a quote maze in my yard.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
that. You get inspiration for your home haunt?
Yeah, which obviously nothing to that scale, but it was just cool to see what different effects people were using. That really got me like thinking and inspired. And then, yeah, you kind of brought up cosplay. I think seeing again just things people have made, how they're using different fabrics and textures and things, and just like ways of doing things maybe I wouldn't have thought of previously is
Mhm.
always really exciting. And the general just uh, heavy hardcore like Halloween vibes. I think
Yeah.
when you're in that space and it's all you're thinking about for several days, your brain just automatically kind of starts going wild of like, oh, what if I did this? And oh, I can't wait for this. And oh, I'm gonna go home and decorate because I want to do this. um,
Mhm.
or you see, something a shop has, and you're like, oh, I could use that like this. So that it's yeah, it's very inspiring. It's a lot of fun. It always and it was nice. Not to bring down the vibe, but it was nice this year to come home and not have COVID because I could
Yes,
actually
hey.
come home and start working on things. Last year, that was a real mood killer. So, yeah,
Indeed.
coming back this year and being like able to jump right into work afterward was fun because I felt like I was, yeah, really inspired and excited.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe I'm sure that everyone has kind of their own experience, but at least for me, it was just a very warm experience.
Very
Like,
hot. No, I'm
I
kidding.
got just, like, that's a lot of people complimenting each other,
Yeah.
whether just on a regular outfit or on a cosplay. I got so many compliments on my tattoos, which was so
Mm-hmm.
nice. There was a moment when I was waiting in line for my photo op, and someone who was like right next to me was like, "Oh my God, where is your harness from?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Jenny Machete." And she was like, "So's mine." And we were like, "Oh my God." So it was just a good time, and I just always enjoy those kind of spaces where like people are really enthusiastic about each other as well.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of a general like positive energy, which I feel like people would maybe not think that a horror event
Right, right.
has, but those are, people who don't know that like, Halloween and horror fans are often some of the nicest people.
Well, and it's very just like, and I mean this in a positive way, like freaks on parade. Like everybody
Yes.
is dressed weird and wearing their craziest get-ups and like acting like excited children. And so
Mhm.
there's really no judgment because everyone's
Yes.
there for the same purpose. And so it's, yeah, it's a very welcoming, warm environment in that way where you just feel like you can be very unapologetically exactly how excited you are to be there.
Yes. Love that. My next note was about vendors, the vendor floor. So I think this is probably like one of the biggest draws
Hmm.
for people. And it's I would say it's similar in some ways to what you might see at like an oddities and curiosities market, but definitely a lot more media focused, like a lot of artists, a lot of people making like horror themed things, as well as kind of quirky folk art type stuff. There were food, there were like desserts and things. So there's just a whole lot. So I was really laughing because Miranda, Spooky Little Halloween, commented on my picture of like my haul of my goodies up on my Instagram, and was like, all of our haul posts are like so descriptive of
Oh, yeah,
ourselves.
it's literally
Just
like a
because you could
catalog of your
you could
personality.
100%, yeah, do like a blind match of each of these photos and be like, "Okay, that's Penny and that's Midge
We
and
should have done
that's
that.
Miranda."
We should do that for the magazine next year for Miranda. Like,
Yes, oh my
whose
gosh.
haul is this?
Whose haul is this? But you can really tell from that, like, what a breadth of options,
Yeah. Well,
there
and
are.
I
One
also
Yeah,
think it
go
was
ahead.
Miranda that kept saying, it's like Instagram come to life, which it is. It's like
Yes.
every shop you've ever bought with and ones you didn't even know about yet
Mhm.
right in front of you and like ripe for the picking. And it's overwhelming, but it's awesome.
Yes, and it's so fun to get to meet and talk to
Yeah,
some
the
of these, like,
faces.
artists and makers that you followed and you've loved and you've shopped from before, and now it's like, "Oh, they're there." Like, we got to hang out with Carrie Ann Hudson, a wonderful
Queen.
artist,
Yeah.
and so good to see her. I will say, so my challenge, which is one of the questions we got, is who was your favorite new vendor that you discovered this year?
Mine was Memento Mori Goods Co. Is that the right? Did I
Yes.
say that right? I think it is
Yeah.
Memento Mori Co. or
It
Goods
is.
Co.
I think it's Goods. I think I follow them. I
Me
think
like
it's Goods.
automatic. I'm like I know exactly who it is. Doesn't remember how to say their name correctly. Um, yeah, but if you saw myself or Miranda post our tote bags that said "big bag of spooky shit,"
Those were so good.
um,
I wish I bought one of those.
okay, Memento Mori Goods. I double checked. Um, but yeah, they but on top of just that bag, which I thought was brilliant marketing, first of all, because
Oh,
what a
yeah.
smart thing to bring to a con. The design was
Mhm.
super cute. It was really fun and simple. Like it's going to appeal to a wide range of people. And then on top of that, everybody's carrying a bunch of crap that they have no
Yep.
hands for.
We all need bags for our spooky shit.
Yeah, and it was this giant tote bag. So that was super smart. But on top of that, they had just really cute stuff. They had really cool pins. They had this placard that I'm definitely gonna buy that was like a heavy metal, like almost cast iron, and it says "Beware of the Ghosts." Um,
Yes, I've been drooling over that on Instagram for a
yeah,
long time.
yeah. So I want that for my living room eventually. But yeah, they were surprisingly just a company that had never come across my feed, and so that was really exciting for me to see them.
Excellent. Yeah, I am gonna pick Abby Bell, who we
Yes, we
all
all bought from her.
got some love. She was new to me,
New to me as
and
well.
we
Yeah.
yeah, and she made these like lovely like clay and paper mache, very folk art style little ornaments and mini sculptures, and several of us bought a little figurine from her. I got a little Nosferatu vampire, who I have named Peter. So,
And I got a
like,
Sam from Trick or Treat, of course.
you did.
You know
I
what?
was so torn. There were so many
I
cute
was about to
ones.
say one of my favorite phenomena though with us is that I feel, and maybe that's my perception, but I feel like I know what you want before you do. Like I walked up to the
Yes.
booth and I was like, "Penny, look at this Nosferatu," and you were like, "Oh, cute. I'm gonna look at these 5 other ones,"
Yep.
and then you ended up leaving the booth with the Nosferatu, and I was like,
I
"Man,
did. You.
one thing about
I'm.
me, I know my
Yeah.
girl."
One thing about me is I cannot make a quick decision. I'm gonna look at something and then I have to consider absolutely everything else before being like, actually, no, that first thing was good.
But I mean, I could have easily bought several of her pieces. She had a creature too that was so cute. It took me
Yes.
a while to decide. But also, her little sculptures were only what, $40?
Yes, they're
I was like,
incredibly,
girl, that
incredibly
is
affordable.
affordable. You
Yeah.
are, if you're listening, Queen, you can charge more for those. I
Yes,
would,
you totally
I would
could.
pay
I
more.
would have paid
They're,
more.
yeah,
I
they're
would pay
so
more.
cute.
But yeah, highly recommend everybody check it out. Um, let's talk about panels and presentations. So I feel like this is always something where if if y'all know me, you know that I'm a nerd and I
What?
like to go to the panels and I like the presentations. And there weren't as many programming things that I was like super hyped about this
Same.
year, which is just that's the way it goes with a convention. Some years are going to be really super aligned with what you want to see, and
Well,
some years are going to go off in other
and I
directions.
feel like last year, you and I made the decision to go because of who the guests were. Like
Yes.
last year, I mean, obviously last year we had never been. And
Hmm.
the like, I wanted to go, but then the deciding factor was them announcing Brian Fuller and Christine McConnell. And
Yes.
I was like, okay, I'm going.
I'm
Um,
going.
so like I feel like this year I was going regardless. So it wasn't the decision was not made by who was appearing, which therefore
Yes.
I think just meant, this time around there were less people that I was personally invested in.
Yes. But do we want to which because you and I both went to the drag show,
We
which
did.
was amazing.
Great as
Once
usual.
again,
Yeah.
produced on Return of Night of the Living Drag, produced by the incredible Peaches Christ, and featuring so many very cool performers. That was like a major highlight of the event last year. And they were on a side stage, so it was so cool to have them on the main stage in the ballroom, just killing it as
It's
usual.
a very like emotional moment for me. I got very emotional on the show.
Yeah.
Just like the fact that they were on the main stage and it was completely full and
Yes.
standing room again, and just like the sheer support of the drag community at a non queer con. Like this is
Hmm.
not a drag con. This is not, which like granted
Yep.
a lot of our community is queer, but
Yes.
um it-
But not
but
specifically
not,
for
yeah. And so that
queer
that was
yeah.
very very cool. It was really awesome. And yeah, all the queens are so freaking talented and clever drag.
Yes, and I was super excited. I did attend the Dragula panel. So the Boulet brothers were one of the major guests this year who they were
Mhm.
probably the guests I were most excited. I was
Whose birthdays
bleh,
are it?
me. I'm the smart one. I can talk.
And I can read, as we established
As we established off
before
mic.
this episode, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that panel was really cool. I got to hang out with our lovely friend, Mr. Matt Hallowoods, to go to that panel. And I guess that was the very first time they've done a panel with the Boulet brothers and the winners.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was what?
So that
Denali,
was
Saint, Landon.
yeah, it was Saint Dolly, Victoria Elizabeth Black, and
Oh,
Landon
Victoria,
Cider.
that's right.
Yep. And I'm a huge fan of all of those people, but I'm a very big Landon Cider fan, so I was very excited to see him, and also get to briefly see him. So the Boulet brothers had like a big, like spooky castle when you first entered the vendor
Yeah.
floor, that had their merch booth. They did meet and greets there, and then they also had a side that they did makeup demos at. So I got to watch a little bit of Landon putting on his Beetlejuice costume in on the floor there, which was very cool. And so I will, I'll low key shout out that another very cool part of the convention was hanging out in the hotel lobby and seeing people go back and forth.
Yeah, lots of
Uh,
people, lots of celeb watching in the hotel.
Yes, yes, all sorts of guests were staying at the hotel, so we would get to see people. We would sometimes see people come in drag and leave out of drag, or go
The
back and forth.
the best part was we saw Peaches leaving the hotel in drag to presumably go to the show, to go do the show.
Mhm.
But we just saw her from the back, which like I don't know. I guess we're all terrible drag fans because like her silhouette is pretty unmistakable with the hair. But we saw her from the back and we were like, "Wow, she looks great. I wonder what she's doing." And then we went to the
Okay.
drag show and she came out and we were like, "Oh my god, that was Peaches."
Um, Also hilariously, so I came in separately from you guys that day,
Oh, okay, that's
and
right. You weren't there.
when I came over, I was walking in with the other performers from the drag show, and I was like, "Wow, these queens look great." And also did not put together, because there are also just like a lot of really fabulous
Queens,
people
right?
in drag just attending the event.
Wait, when
But
you say the queens that were performing, were you with Mr. He?
no,
Oh,
it was not
I
Mr.
was like,
He.
you
No,
didn't recognize Mr.
I
He?
do know Mr. He. No, it was specifically I saw Oceana and her Bride of Frankenstein.
Oceana looked
I was like, wow, that's
good.
a gorgeous Bride of
She looked
Frankenstein drag
so
queen.
good,
And then went
bitch.
inside, and then later was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's I probably wouldn't have recognized Oceana immediately. I think
Yeah, and I
Lux
was in the
and
middle of hustling
yeah,
inside.
but yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I was like, I'm an absolute idiot. I just like walked by Peaches Christ in drag.
Right.
Uh,
And I also got so we had kind of two sides of the same coin, because I saw the Girl That's Scary live podcast, where they interviewed the Mystic Museum, which was super fun. But I missed, and you got to go to the BIPOC Creators panel.
BIPOC creators. It was so freaking good. And while we're here, y'all, if you guys are not listening to Girl That's Scary, please go check them out. They are so fun
Yes.
and funny and just smart, and they cover such important things, but also like are doing really great horror reviews that
Yes,
are
I
hilarious.
like to I put them on my Bluetooth speaker while I'm like cooking, and I'm always like
Yeah,
cackling
well, and that's I mean,
along with
like,
them.
so many of you say, like, "I love your podcast because it feels like I'm hanging out with friends." That's how Girl That's Scary feels. Like, it
Yes.
feels like you're sitting around with your friends talking about a movie you just watched. It's so fun. Um, but yeah, the BIPOC and horror panel was awesome. That something that they talked about that I loved was discussing tropes in horror, which I
Mhm.
feel like that's obvious that they're going to discuss that because horror be troping.
Horror do be troping.
um, but specifically, Jazz from Girl That's Scary said something that has stuck with me because they were talking about like why do people write black characters like this in horror,
Mhm.
and her quote was, "They're writing from what they know and they don't know much."
So
And
true.
that was like
So
my
true.
the pull out quote from that panel for me was just, talking about how we can be better as both consumers, and if you're, non POC people writing horror, just like educating ourselves about how like other people are and like not every
Right.
person
Conceiving of people who are different from you as fully formed
fully
people.
formed people and not just a stereotype. Yeah.
Yep.
Which sounds so obvious, but it apparently isn't, because
Yeah.
we see it over and over again. But yeah, that panel was really awesome and also introduced me to a new cosplayer, Amber,
Ooh,
that was a part of that, and she was wearing Vixen. So I immediately was like, "Ooh, this is like
fabulous.
one of ours," But she was
Yes.
awesome. The entire what am I trying to say? The entire panel of people, every single
Yeah.
one of them was really, really awesome to listen to.
So one of the questions that we got that I slotted under this thing, although it doesn't have to be from a panel or presentation, was what was your biggest fangirl moment
Ooh,
of the
fangirl.
conference?
Fangirl moment. I mean, I did get to meet the Boulets. That was pretty cool.
That's very
I
cool.
had a meet and greet with them. And it was, I mean, how those things are is very short and sweet,
Oh
but
yeah.
they were very kind and they complimented my hair and said it was radiant. And
Ah.
I told them how much I loved the Halfway to Halloween special because I thought that was just like extra good. And they seemed very genuinely touched by the fact that I loved it so much. So that was really
Yeah, and I mean not that people don't like the halfway Halloween special, but I'm sure they get,
on
compliments on Dracula
Dragula,
more often.
right.
So,
And that's a new, yeah, anyway, that was fun. Oh, wait, but I know what it was. Because I was gonna say I wasn't like starstruck by the Boulets though. I don't know why. I mean, I was
yeah.
excited, but I wasn't like, whoa. I guess because I went there to meet them, so it wasn't a surprise.
Yes, you knew it was going to happen.
No, but you know what it was.
I know what it was.
It was this fucking okay, guys, listen. So for one thing you need to know about me is that I'm a little puppet slut. I love puppets so much. I am a puppet nerd. I learned puppetry like in theater camps and stuff at school. I freaking love puppets. Um and I follow Lucy Ball on TikTok, which if you're not familiar is like a little cute ass Baphomet puppet who
He looks
reviews.
very like Steamboat Willie
Yes,
style,
thank you.
very
That's
like old
perfect.
school animation.
Yeah, so he's super cute, but he's Baphomet and he like reviews horror movies in a really fun way that feels very approachable for people like me who are newer to non like old school campy horror.
Mhm.
And I found a lot of great films through their recommendations and things. So we were talking to Girl That's Scary. We were at their
Yep.
table and little Lucy just walked by and I was like, "Oh my god. Can I take a picture with you?" I've never been so starstruck and it was a puppet.
Yep,
But that
and I will say the best part of this is that I was standing there and everyone was so excited about this puppet, and I had no idea that this puppet was, like, a known quantity,
yeah,
but was just totally on board because I was like, "Yeah, that's a
that's a
rad
cool
puppet.
puppet.
I'm also psyched to see this puppet."
It's just so funny. I've like I don't know. I guess there was part of me that like I was like I'm people like I can't even talk. That's how starstruck I was. That's the end of the story. I love that little puppet and that made my entire weekend getting to take a picture with him.
It's
What about
good,
you?
so well, as some of
Oh,
you know, if you
duh.
follow me
Yeah.
on Instagram, I had a photo op, a celebrity, my very first celebrity photo op, with the fabulous Harvey Guillen, and this the photo op was wonderful. The convention process of it was not so great.
Yeah.
Uh, didn't have had a lot of bumps in the road, but Harvey was so lovely. It was, incredibly quick. But he was so sweet and he's so cute in person and lovely. And obviously, I'm a big fan of his acting work, but mostly like he's just such a queer fashion icon, and no man is doing red carpet fashion like him
Certainly not. Yeah.
these days, and I just admire that so much, and I find him so inspiring for that and how much he kind of like presents his aesthetic. And so I had to get cute and I had to meet Harvey, and I did, and the photo turned out really well. So I told him that I thought he was a fashion icon, and I asked him if I could be his red carpet date for the photo. And he was so sweet. He told me that I looked beautiful when I came up, and then he was like, "Yes, of course, let's wave to the people." And so I was like, "Oh God, I wasn't expecting this." So I was very nervous because I was like, I have no idea what my face just did
I
uh,
did think to
during this
myself,
pose.
because like I know that being caught off guard is not your favorite thing. And I literally, when you showed me the photo, I was like, wow, that's a really great picture, especially for the fact that Penny didn't, like, you didn't suggest that pose. Like, the fact that you
Yes.
reacted in the moment, it was perfect, though. Maybe it made you
Yes.
more relaxed that you didn't have time to overthink it, you know?
This is very true. Yeah, so that was fabulous. Definitely fangirled over seeing him. Obviously, oh, and also just that we got to chat with Peaches for a bit, kind
Yeah,
of post
so
drag
friggin'
show, and
nice.
just so nice. So willing to just stop and talk to a bunch of us queerdos who were just like, we love we love the drag show. We're so happy to see drag here at the convention. So it was just super nice to take the time to chit chat with us a bit, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, she's lovely and like so down to earth. Um,
Yes.
Also, I have one more that's just kind of silly.
Yes.
I got to take my photo with the cosplayers from last year that were the Jackal and the Pilgrimess from
Yes.
13 Ghosts. They made my year last year. It was like one of the highlights of my Midsummer Scream. And they were back in full cosplay, and I got to take a photo with them at the after party. So that was really like, I nerded out over that because they're very good cosplayers, and
They
13 Ghosts
are.
is one of my like happy little comfort films. So that was really cool too.
Oh, yeah, I should have told they talked about 13 Ghosts in the Girl That's Scary
Oh
podcast.
man, it's
They
just the
were
best.
they called that out as one of the like kind of like maligned films of the Y2K period that they think actually like deserves a better
It
reputation.
absolutely does. We'll do it. I'm gonna prep an episode about
Put
13
that on your
Ghosts
put it in
because
your list, girl.
yeah, and has a really awesome black character as a black female character as well. And I'm sure that's part of why they also love that movie, because it's one of the
Hey.
few good representations of a femme black person in that era.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the end, the final question that I had from a listener was, is it worth traveling to? So this person was asking from New York. We did have a lovely friend come from New York. We come from all over. We had two people. Well, we had like two people from like New York area. We had obviously a bunch of the us Midwesterners. We did have California folks who drove in. Um, and where is James is on the East Coast
He's
too,
from
right?
Virginia. Yep. But he
Virginia. That's what
actually
I
flew
was like. I
from
know it's not New England,
Yeah, he
but
actually flew from New Jersey this time because he was with family,
that's why. There you
but
go.
yeah,
I was
he's from
confused.
Virginia. Yeah.
Yep. So I obviously we find it worthwhile
Yeah, I
to
mean, we went
travel.
back, so there's your
We
answer.
went back. Um, I would say that like I if you are it's one of those things where it's like it's greater than the sum of its parts,
It's what you make it.
because it's like
Yeah.
yeah, because it's like yes, you could shop basically all of these vendors online. So like but obviously, it's more fun to, shop at a booth to do the thing. If you are looking for panels and presentations, obviously, you're going to get some things here that you might not, that you wouldn't, get elsewhere, getting to attend things like that. If you have friends that are going,
If you
then I
have
think
friends.
it's certainly worth it because as Miranda says, it's like our spooky summer camp where we all just get to hang out and run around and do spooky shit for the weekend, and no one can stop us. So I highly recommend that. I would say that as far as conventions go, it's large, but it's not huge. So like when you see like kind of like the videos of just like complete like con crush from like
Mhm.
San Diego or Gen
Yeah, it's
Con or
not
Anime Expo.
SDCC.
Like it's definitely not like that. It is not that crowded, but like it's still a lot of people. So if you're not someone who likes a big crowd, like definitely, be prepared to take a break, to do whatever. Personally, I spent a lot of time like just hunkering down in the cafe, or sometimes having a solo floor party, to just hang
I
out,
did
people watch,
I did find
relax.
Penny on the floor a lot during this
You
con.
did. You just sometimes you gotta, and that's one of the things that I have found makes a convention more fun for me, is that I have the desire to push myself
Yeah.
as much as I can, and that way lies madness. So take a seat on the floor if you need to, and hydrate.
I think it was Doreen that stopped me when you and I were not together, one of our listeners, and she was like, "Oh, where's Penny?" And I think literally I responded, "Probably on the floor somewhere."
Probably on the
And I
floor.
realized like that person probably thought I meant like the vendor floor, but what I
Oh
really meant
no,
was
literally sitting on the
sitting
floor.
upstairs on the floor. Yeah, that was it
It's
gave me a
cool
little
down there. I can stretch my legs out.
Um, but yeah, I would definitely say, uh, I would say it's worth it, and I would also say, like I said, like it is what you make it, and
Mhm.
we've made it an event for our friend group to not only like go to it, but to see each other for sure once a year at this
Yes.
event, and I would say, I don't know, what, like 65 to 70% of your favorite Halloween and horror creators are at this con. So even just to like go and talk to people and see people who you would never probably run into in real life otherwise is very cool. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's, you know, go with friends, have a great time, and I don't know, yeah, go enjoy it.
It is, yeah, and I know that was one of the things that we kind of talked, about with when we were chatting with Peaches, is that a lot of other kind of haunt focused stuff, are very much like industry events.
Hmm.
And this is one that is much more of a fan event and like a showcase event
Yeah.
of spooky things and haunts. And so they do still, they sell, haunt supplies and things, but it's very much like, let us show off like what a home haunt can be like, what like a little mini haunt is. And you get to see like SFX artists doing their shit on the floor. So impressive.
Yeah.
Stilt walkers. It is just, it's a good time. I definitely recommend, if you are into Halloween and don't mind a convention environment,
Yeah.
checking it out.
And it's just a great way to support small businesses you love too, because those people pay to be there whether we show up to shop or not. So, you know, show up and shop with your vendors that you love and support them too.
Yes. Shop off, and it's always nice to see, going around on Sunday, like how many people are like basically out of
Sold out
stuff,
of
and you're
stuff.
like,
Yeah.
hell yeah,
Yes.
get get that
Get your
bag,
money, honey.
get your money, honey. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was our Midsummer Scream 2023. It was a hoot and a half. It was so good to be roomies with you, Midge.
Yeah,
And
it's always so nice
oh,
when we actually get to be in the same room together.
yes. Chaos ensues in the best way
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
I love it. So once again, thank you to everyone who said hello and that we saw at the event. If you guys wanted to see us at a future event, the best thing you can do is let the people know that you love Coolest Night In. So we love to hear reviews, to see you, posting all over the place, or to leave us a review on our very own Podbean. And I think Midge has one to share
I
today.
sure do. Also, real quick, speaking of Podbean, while we were at Midsummer Scream, we also had a major
Yes.
pod milestone and hit 100,000 downloads of Ghouls Night In. So thank you all so, so much for your continuous support of us. It means the world. Uh,
Yes.
but yes, we have a, excuse me, a Podbean comment review from Sister Hipster. And it says, one of my absolute favorite podcasts. I love the range
Hey.
of topics, and I've learned about things I never knew I wanted to know about. I love your I love the energy of Midge and Penny. 10 of 10 would recommend. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, friend. We're always bringing you those topics that you don't even know you want to know.
My goal is to give you at least one weird fact to share at a party every week.
Yes. Excellent. Well, if you guys would like to follow along with the pod and see some pics from Midsummer Scream, you can find those on our Instagram at Ghouls Night in Pod. And if you are looking for me, you can find me across the internet at Penny Snark.
And you can find me all over the web at Midge Munster.
And until next time,
Goodbye.
goodbye.